In a terrible rush.
Don't rush me, Sonny. You rush a miracle, man, you get rotten miracles.
Welcome to amorephillyunion, the podcast where sometimes we need to simplify in weeks where there's lots of personal travel, and occasionally you have to end up with a single podcast host to get you through the week. This week, I'm your only host. I'm Paul. I'm going to keep this episode fairly short. I'm going to cover a couple of things about the games that happened this week. And I'm going to leave a lot of the union happenings that are bouncing around right now in the Twitter sphere and such for next week. First off, a little bit of housekeeping. We have reached over 3,100 downloads, it looks like, according to the website. I'll have to trust Eric to get accurate numbers for us all next week. But as always, thank you all for continuing to listen, continuing to download. And please, reach out. Let us know if you're enjoying the show, if there's things that you like or things that you don't. We're always willing to listen, and we love some feedback. As we announced a couple weeks back, we did reach our goal for the Help Us Help the You challenge this year. So thank you very much for everybody for downloading. And as always, if you want to directly help the foundation, just go to philadelphiaunionfoundation.org, and there's a donation option there, as well as an opportunity you can reach out and see how you might be able to get involved. So please support them. They do a lot of good things. As I said, this is going to be one of our mini-sodes since E and C aren't available due to travel, and I have just gotten home myself today from some other travel. So just want to cover a bit about the games that happened. Yes, Leagues Cup is still rolling at this time of year. Union hosted Montreal last Friday, and it was a return from our Olympians. So McGlynn and Harriel were both back in the lineup. Harriel actually got the start over Mbizo. McGlynn didn't get a start, but he was a very potent substitution for Flock in the 90th minute. This game did end up in the Union's favor, 2-0 over CF Montreal. And unlike the Cruz Azul game, it was definitely not flooded with visiting fans. In fact, it was pretty sparse. I know there was some danger threatening. There was some threat of weather Friday. People thought that there was going to be rain, and it ended up being a pretty pleasant night after all. And so the stands weren't full. I think there might have been a little bit of Montreal representation, but for the most part, those that did show up were sporting the Union colors and cheering the boys on. So in this game, as I mentioned, the Union did win 2-0. A couple of notes about this one. Definitely felt like the Union were in control. There was definitely some controversy with that Flock no call on a penalty where he was clearly taken out inside the Montreal box. And as I think it was Danny Higginbotham on the broadcast said, anywhere else on the field that would have been called for a foul. But in a 0-0 game in the box, the referee didn't want to influence the results that badly, that quickly, but it pretty clearly was a foul. Ended up not really mattering since Baribo got the Union on the score sheet just before halftime as Sam Adeniran drove down the left-hand side, took a shot, went off a keeper, went off of a Montreal player, ended up at Baribo's face, or at his feet. And he made no mistake, powered it home, got the Union up just before halftime, 1-0. Going into the second half, Sam Adeniran continues to look dangerous out there. He's threatening at every play. He's running hard. And it looks like that he's really buying into the Union ethos of how to play as a team. And just anytime he could threaten for the ball, he was at it. There was a bit of a scare in the second half as Gazdag had to have a substitute to come off the field as he took what looked to be a knee to the back during a restart or a play on the Union half of the field in the box. He was down on the ground for a significant portion of time and eventually had to be subbed off for Bedoya. Good news is he did start in the next game as the Union played in midweek against Cincinnati, and he played the entire game. So if he was injured, it seems like it wasn't that significant of an injury, as Gazdag was able to return back to playing pace for the next game. So the Union were up late at this game. They were up 1-0. There was a bit of a scare in the 80th minute as Mbaizo fouled one of the Montreal players pretty significantly around the 80th minute. Initially, the referee handed a straight red card for it, and then VAR called him to the monitor where he reviewed it. He took back the red card and ended up giving Mbaizo a yellow card, which I honestly did think was the correct call. It was a hard foul, but it wasn't egregious. It wasn't putting the player. I didn't think that putting the player in injury concern. So Mbaizo got lucky. VAR protected him. Union finished the game with the full slate of players, and they would take advantage of it as Montreal pushed to find an equalizer to send this game to penalty kicks. Late in the second half, there was a breakaway. McGlynn, as a substitute, drove down the right-hand side. He had Baribo in the middle. McGlynn wisely waited for the sole Montreal defender to make a play and challenge him. And as that Montreal defender challenged McGlynn, he made a really great outside of the foot pass into Baribo's running space. Baribo wisely stayed onside and finished with authority to make the Union much more comfortable with a 2-0 lead to see out that game. So Baribo scores a brace against Montreal, and then the Union move on to face Cincinnati, and this time they have to actually travel to Cincinnati, where the Union have traditionally not fared very well against Pat Noonan and Cincinnati. But Baribo would score another brace in that game as the Union took on Cincinnati on Tuesday night. I think it was Tuesday night. Yeah. And would win that game 4-2. So just an amazing result for the Union to go into a team's like Cincinnati's house, a team that plays as well as Cincinnati does, and to get a result of any sort, much less a fairly dominant performance. This was a back and forth game. It was really a great result for the Union. It was a very exciting game. Both teams were showing up to play. I did think it was interesting that Acosta did not start. Luciano Acosta did not start for Cincinnati, but he did show up in the second half. As I mentioned, Gazdag did play the full game in this game, which was great to see as he's continuing to play well. And so first half back and forth ended up 0-0. Both teams had their opportunities. I think between the two games, this was definitely Blake's performance in this game that got the Union this advancement in the League's Cup. Obviously Union scores 4 goals. Baribo gets a brace, but Blake had at least 2 or 3 clutch saves in this game that kept the Union on the front foot. I wouldn't even say that, kept them in the game, but just kept them in the front foot. So while the first half was ended at 0-0, there would prove to be 6 goals in the second half, where the Union scored the first 2 and then uncomfortably gave up 2 goals to let Cincinnati get back into this game. You really kind of hoped that the Union would have just gotten a 3rd goal before Cincinnati could have scored and put it away. It kind of almost looked like Cincinnati was going to show once again that the 2-0 lead is a very dangerous lead in soccer. But the Union would would score 2 more goals after the 80th minute and, send them on to the round of 8 in the Leagues Cup. So, while Acosta coming on definitely seemed to ignite something in Cincinnati, I think the Union's overall team play proved a big difference in this game, and you cannot overstate the importance of Andre Blake in net, as he made some amazing saves and just generally was the backbone that the team needed to get a result in Cincinnati. And so Leagues Cup now will continue for the Union. Now, there have been a lot of rumors and other things going around. There have actually been a couple of, I would say, secondary player moves this week that we will want to discuss. But I'm going to hold off on those things until E and C are available next week to record a fuller episode. We'll keep those notes for that. But we did want to just get a little bit of a mini-sode out this week before the Union take on Mazatlan on Saturday in Philadelphia for the round of 8. So depending on how things turn out, the Union will have a game against Mazatlan, then they may have a midweek game, and if they make it to the final, the semifinals are midweek, and then the final would be the following weekend. The Union currently have a game scheduled against Columbus next Saturday, the 24th. We'll see if that happens, or if the Union find a way to get past what seems to be this year's tournament's Cinderella story. Mazatlan, nobody really expected them to get very far in this tournament after the group stage, and they've been playing well. So Union have their work cut out for them to get a result out of this game and see where they go from there. If you're following the Leagues Cup, there's quite a few good teams left. Cruz Azul is out as they lost to Mazatlan, so that's no rematch for the Union there. But there's still lots of good options, good teams that the Union could end up against if they do find a way past Mazatlan. So if you're a fan of the Leagues Cup, hopefully you're enjoying this round. Hopefully you're enjoying this episode or this version or season of the tournament. And let us know what you like about the Leagues Cup, if you do, or if you're kind of more in our boat where we would rather have just stuck with the MLS season. Feel free to share that as well. You can reach us at our website, amorephillyunion.com. You can feel free to email us at pod@amorephillyunion.com. On X or Twitter, we are amorephillyu. Instagram, YouTube, and Threads, we're amorephillyunion. We do have our Spotify playlist, or as E calls it, the soundtrack for amorephillyunion, so you can listen to that. And as always, you can get our podcast wherever you get your podcast, with Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or what have you. This has been a mini episode, but thanks for tuning in for another episode of amorephillyunion. I am your host. This is Paul. And I'm sure if E and C were here, they would agree. Go Union!
Mock my pain!
Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something.